Our addiction to economic growth is killing us. Right now, the entire global system is captive to a single idea: economic growth. Politicians rise and fall on their ability to increase GDP year on year. They promise that growth will make our lives better. But there's a catch. We can't have infinite growth on a finite planet. We're already overshooting our planet's biocapacity by nearly 60%. The consequences are all around us: climate change, deforestation, and rapid rates of extinction. This crisis is due almost entirely to overconsumption in rich countries. They use more than 3 times their fair share of biocapacity. Scientists warn that the only way to prevent ecological collapse is for rich countries to scale down their consumption. This is called planned degrowth. Degrowth is not the same as austerity. The goal is to increase human well-being and happiness while reducing our economic footprint. Instead of intensifying our plunder of the earth, we can share what we already have more fairly. We can cut excess consumption by curbing advertising and taxing carbon. Introducing a basic income and a shorter working week would allow us to get rid of unnecessary jobs and redistribute labor. But the first step is to overthrow the tyranny of GDP. GDP is a crude measure of progress. When we slice down our forests for timber or strip our mountains for coal, GDP goes up. When natural disasters strike or hospital visits rise, GDP goes up. It ignores environmental and social costs. It's time for a more sensible metric, like the genuine progress indicator, which takes GDP and subtracts these negative outcomes. It accounts for the costs of growth. We need an economic model that promotes human flourishing in harmony with the planet on which we depend.
Hi, everybody. It is Sandy Shallis, and welcome to Environmental Coffee House. Today, I got a pretty good conversation to have, and I want to talk about. Well, first, I want to make sure everything's working, and I get my chat up, and you can hear me. A little technical stuff. Hi. All right. Make sure it's on. Everything is working. One woman show. All right, that looks good. And I shared it on Facebook. So today my interest, and to bring to your interest, is degrowth, the degrowth movement. And it's very interesting. I've done a piece on this before, and I really want to start out with a little bit of a discussion on I don't know, solution focused, and how that can be kind of like well, kind of confusing. But I'm going to say hi to Torstein, hi Anthony, hi CB, and whoever else joins us. It's early, and I haven't, this is my first go around or second go around at these hours. Tuesday and Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern, you can join me. Okay? So, basically, what drove me to this is when we had Peter Mountain on the other night, and the discussion was about how can you be solution focused, but you know that we don't, as a species, have time. We're really running out of time, but I thought, nah, let's talk about degrowth. It's not about running out of time necessarily. It's like, I know, how can one be solution focused if they are certain that humanity has no way out of the predicament that we've evolved into? Well, degrowth. And and it's something that's tangible that can be done. It's a negative growth of the economy, which is happening anyway, or a population, which we have to do. It's a political, economic, and a social movement based on ecological economics and an anti-consumerist, almost anti-capitalist idea. And there's nothing wrong with that, because as we are seeing, we are not in a very good shape in the world, are we? I think we're seeing that capitalism and the desire for growth is taking us down pretty much. And I don't know if I'm going to elaborate so much on that, but it's basically stopping demand. It's basically, well, the Moore movie, take that, for example, showed us that there really is no impending techno green fix that's sustainable. There really isn't. And you think about all this, and what we have sometimes I think is maybe not so much a scarcity of food right yet, or we didn't, because we in the United States just destroyed so much food because of the virus and the lockdown, meaning everything was closed that would sell food, restaurants, and they buried potatoes, and farmers just covered their crops. Just amazing. It was just not amazing in a good way. And in the West, 50% of all food is wasted. It's wasted. So all that food, it just seems so, I don't know. Growing up as a kid, I remember, and this will age me, but I remember the discussion about the kids are starving in Biafra. And you can kind of put it like that with this. We in the West, we have huge tracts of land that are planted for the biofuel that we just got reminded about in Jeff's movie, uh, and also for feedlot production. So feeding the animals that sustain people, but too many people, and have been deemed essential workers because at least this country cannot see its way out of getting off of meat and eating meat, which probably would go a long way, at least lessening it so much. Okay. But we are like, I don't know, people that like lawns and having to water lawns. It's, according to Charles Eisenstein, it is the largest irrigating crop in America. This is the lawn. Thank God we don't irrigate our lawn, just the garden. If it goes brown, we're happy. But I'm going to segue into this thought, guys. And what do you think about that? If we want to implement some kind of degrowth, which this might just be the perfect segue if we had the kind of vision in our leaders that would believe the problems that we're seeing. I mean, COVID-19 could be a turning point. If voices were loud enough and majority of people understood the severity of abrupt climate change issues, which we are in. Even with, I mean, it was 72 in Fairbanks, Alaska the other day, and it was 30 here in Western New York. Alaska, I mean, wow. Uh, I looked up the heat, what's the regular temperature in Nuuk, Greenland, and it was warmer there today than it is here. And it is really supposed to be about 20 degrees cooler there. Uh, I don't know. It's like people have to understand, they don't see that everything that's happened, the heat, the fires in Florida now, the fires in California, the temperatures, like I just said, 72 in Fairbanks, 30 here, 29 here, a frost warning here. The fires, the floods, the extinctions, it's overwhelming. But could it be a turning point now with this collapse? It's too bad we don't have enough infrastructure in place to rise up, but there is a degrowth movement, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. But first, what I wanted to do is talk a little bit about actually the capitalistic system, because it's, I jotted down some notes, and it is, I'll just say hi to, let me say hi to a couple of people. You always know I have to do that. Mike Harrigan, hi. Boiled Rope Lamppost, Raza, Tina, hi, Aunt Tina. And Antonio's with us. Hi, Antonio. All right, so we're talking about capitalism, which it's the system. It really has this sickeningly unhealthy focus on the ownership of financial wealth, which obviously we're living through, because how many people, I don't have the statistics in front of me about how many billionaires there are compared to us. It's an unhealthy focus on me. We've become such a me society, with not much attention being paid to important issues outside of financial wealth and the things that are traded for money. And financial capital, it's at one and the same time, it's an amount of money and measure. It's a circular computation that has terrible implications. So this is where we're at from this. I will read a little history that I jotted down for you, and about consumerism, which can be traced back to the onset of capitalism in the 16th century in Europe. And it intensified greatly in the 18th century because of growing middle class that embraced luxury consumption. And it has gotten to the point of luxury consumption where we see yachts that are owned by one person that are as long as a city block. Oh my God. But the 18th century, which has, led us to here, also saw an increasing interest in fashion rather than necessity as a determinant for purchasing. I am not immune. For countries, I don't know, for them to thrive politically, economically, capitalist competition for products, products and markets that had to be at the core of every country's agenda. Colonialism has also attributed as one of those major drivers of consumerism. Colonialism. Oh, that's a whole other thing. They had to look for markets. Now, back then, the colonialists, they had to look for markets for their goods by creating demand because there was supply. And then came the Industrial Revolution, which also spurred consumerism as a number of consumer products increased in the market due to increasing use of machines. So over all these decades, my whole life, buying goods and services became a way of life everywhere, pretty much. Even in pretty much everywhere by now. It's a culture that is just all pervasive. It encourages spending on these items, consumer items, cars and clothes and shoes and gadgets, instead of saving or investing. And people like me, I am guilty, have bought goods and services to keep up with trends or fashions, or because we like things, we got addicted to shopping, or it was like a drug or a panacea for filling a void. For whatever it is in the West, it happens. And the search for better shit is never ending, never ends. We just want something better and better and better. When it ends is when you have no money. And I certainly have ended that run of part of my life. But the rise of consumerism now, it's evident in both developing and developed countries. So we are the developed country. It can be seen in the mass production of luxury goods, and so many things are made where? Where are they made? China, Asian countries, and the media. The media, they play a huge role because they're also saturated with advertisements that tell us we've got to buy this stuff. Personal debt levels, they've risen globally, guys. It's an indication of more people buying goods excessively. on impulse. I could never talk about it if I hadn't been guilty, or without proper financial planning. I'm that person, so I am uniquely qualified to discuss this. But other evidence signs of consumerism include innovation. And there's an article I have that we're going to go to that talks about this. So basically, in the end, the economies of the world are driven by decisions of people who have needs but wants, and are consumers. We buy, and our needs are here, and our wants are here. They buy products, goods, and services. They need, they want. So, in turn, the companies, they produce these things, and so on back through the supply chain. Companies know this, and so they invest so heavily on that advertising that we see, although I will avoid advertising as much as possible in my life. I can't stand it. I just can't. And that's how they build their brands and familiarity and so on and so forth. But it doesn't have an equivalent to convince consumers to act in the interest of themselves or of society and the environment. So the only interest behind advertising and influencing the consuming public are the product manufacturers and the marketers. And it's an asymmetry that is dangerous and it has to be changed. It's the West. It's the West. So I've got a bunch of articles, and we're going to talk a little bit about this topic from what's out there, which is how I like to roll. What's out there in the news, in the media, in the in the YouTube sphere, and all kinds of places. I started out with Hinkle because he's brilliant, and I follow him on YouTube. So the first piece here, and let me say hi to William. Hi, William. And cool, this is great. We've got people from Facebook, and I'm happy. I'm happy. That's why I do it live. So we'll get into this. This first article I decided to pull up was called Positive Money, the Tragedy of Growth. And of course, I'm not going to read all these articles, but I'm giving you food for thought. I'm giving you a short-term solution to work towards that maybe, along with other movements like Extinction Rebellion, can work in tandem and take advantage of this virus that has shown us that we can make changes if we have to make changes. And perhaps if there's not coming back from this so fast, degrowth people can sneak in and maybe even talk to politicians. I don't know, play the game, lobby politicians in the United States, in the parliament in the UK. But that's very hard because greed that underlies all of this is so endemic in governments around the world that it seems like an insurmountable mountain to climb, but it could be one that has an opportunity. So there was a report by Positive Money entitled The Tragedy of Growth. To protect well-being and avoid ecological disaster, we must abandon the GDP, gross domestic product, growth, and transform our economical system. Now, this is from Britain, but it could be the same thing. It's the United States and Britain, two peas in a pod. I even saw a meme the other day that showed a blended face of Boris and Donald. It was pretty good. I thought it was pretty good. So this article talks about, and this one was from May 11th, so it's pretty new. And they talk about the report and critiques of the GDP measure and how it became so popular. But they go on to protect human well-being and avoid environmental disaster. We must escape the growth paradigm once and for all. Do you think we can do this? We have to escape this growth paradigm. And it is an overwhelming prospect. And the growth paradigm includes all the industries, even the green industry, like I said, this biofuel industry, that Moore's movie, Jeff Gibbs, I think that's his last name. Um, and they say a shift from this must be accompanied by an agenda to overcome growth dependency. In other words, we must transform structures of our economy in such that they no longer require GDP growth to temporarily fend off financial, economic, and social crises. So the writing is there. There's so much on this. This is a movement I think has teeth, especially now. We can't go back to business as usual. So degrowth is coming of age. Its time has come. We argue that without growth, the basic features of capitalist economies generate strong tendencies toward mass unemployment and a deepening inequality, and monetary systems based on interest-bearing debt are central to these growth imperatives. Therefore, transformative money policies are needed to reduce our dependence on interest-bearing debt and foster balanced creditor-debtor relationships in line with the objectives of a post-growth economy. I love it. I hope I live long enough to see something like that. And I mean, the negative part that comes out in me at times just really will say, I'm not going to see it, but I'm just telling my husband I can't talk to him right now. When he calls me from work, it's usually something, but I'm not answering the phone in the middle of a live stream. That would be like quite rude, right? Okay, so get back to normal life here. My research on this that spurred from the conversation the other day. So there's a report here. You can read it. I'll put the link in, and we're going to move on to the next piece that I chose, which is a new study. Also, this is from April 15th, 2020. This study, economic growth is incompatible with biodiversity conservation. Okay, that's kind of a no shit Sherlock moment. I don't have a no shit Sherlock button, but if I did, I would push it. This is a study involving more than 20 specialists in conservation ecology and ecological economics, and highlights the contradiction between economic growth and biodiversity conservation. So, adopting limits to international trade in resources or reproducing and sharing the work are some of the 7 alternative proposals that the article notes to stop biodiversity loss. It's proposed by the IPBES that they consider a trajectory beyond growth and proposing biodiversity scenarios in the context of the Convention on Biological Diversity. And I'll let you guys find that as you are interested. I am bringing it to you. They have all kinds. Number one, limit the commercialization of resources at an international level. Restrict the activity of extractive industries in areas of high biodiversity. I'll drink to that one. Slow down the expansion of major infrastructure. Reduce and share work. Promote. Doing good. Promote agroecological development and food sovereignty. Prioritize compact urban planning and shared use of housing. Report on the impact of production on biodiversity. And beyond the GDP, the welfare. So the authors of that research, they advocate the use of economic, social, biophysical, and welfare indicators to evaluate the results of the proposed measures. But this is like evaluating a whole paradigm change in the entire world. But I give them credit for even trying. I give them credit. I think it's something we all should seize on to. Why not? Why not? So the next one I picked, and this is, did I go here already? The Tragedy of Growth. I think I went here already. But yes, I did. We argue with that. Okay, that one I don't know how I did that. And I think that one. All right. This one was interesting. This guy, I found him. His name is Peter Burgess. This is from a while ago, but True Value Metrics, and specifically from this article, I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but I really liked how he described. First, he has a component system, and he talks about capital. It's really interesting: natural capital, physical capital, institutional capital, knowledge capital, financial capital, social capital, human capital. He's a business guy, but he's talking about how we can change things and not be the way we were, with the product and plant, the place perspective, the person perspective. All of this is pretty fascinating. It talks about beyond money, but I'm going to find the piece that no, I can't find it. Well, anyway, that's a really interesting article. He's talking about quantification of financial capital and physical and institutional knowledge. It was interesting, but this one is too much to get into right now. But that's the news I'm showing you. And okay, and this is also very current in the degrowth movement. Collaborative feminist degrowth. Pandemic as an opening for a careful radical transformation. And I think we're looking at it from a female perspective. I'm not going to read this whole thing either. There is also a video discussion that was done by this organization, which I liked. I found quite fascinating. So this is their bullet points in this article. They focus on towards a provisioning economy, recognize and regenerate social and ecological reproductive capacity. So there's a little talking about not reproducing, not reproducing. Home as a site of production and reproduction. So instead of these huge industrial complexes where people, like the meat industry, jam in and all get COVID, 800 of them, test positive and are forced to go to work, well, we change it. And it could seem pie in the sky, but maybe there's no alternative but to change these things. And then they talk about towards a caring economy, care and labor and care income. And I know part of it from what I listened to was they were talking about the work that caregivers do in families. It's not really compensated work, but it is a job. They said they consider degrowth a question of regeneration. While many aspects of our global economy need to degrow, some critical democratic infrastructures, such as infrastructures of care, they will flourish. Therefore, we need to invest in transformative policies that center around the reproduction of life and commoning of care. And I don't think they mean just having babies. And they call for the socialization of universal health care, the socialization of utilities, the decommodification of food, housing, medicine, education, and other basic services. In other words, utopia for those of us who are somewhat not enthralled with the capitalistic society that we've seen happen over our lifetimes, and that our kids don't even know any difference, if any of us that have kids. And they say the pandemic has raised the pitch of calls for a universal basic income. But on the other hand, there's also the federal job guarantee, which is what the people that support MMT, the real progressives, they support that. But here they say it was a UBI was supported from Pope Francis to the Spanish Parliament and U.S. tech venture capitalist Andrew Yang. Defined as a modest sum paid monthly to each resident to secure conditions of life, the UBI has been advocated as part of wide-ranging visions and purposes. Degrowth aligns with these proposals that seek material conditions that can liberate individuals from exploitative employment, support transformation away from the environmentally damaging regimes, and help move beyond battles of job versus environment towards politics that addresses viable livelihoods as inseparable from a sustainable earth. Can it happen, guys? What are we going to do in the meantime? Sit and watch it get destroyed? No. Even if we don't put all our hopes on the outcome. Towards a solidarity economy, sorry. That's interesting. A solidarity economy. The immediacy of the pandemic, we need to strengthen existing affinity groups, mutual aid networks, and all related efforts. So it's really not the me movement that's happening in the United States with open up, me, I need this. It's us, and how we work together. We're going to have to work together globally. We're just going to have to. That's just the way it goes. And it segued from that one into negative population growth for me, because to me, they go hand in hand. And yeah, I got to put this one up. I'm sorry, but I'm going to put this one up for a second. I'm taking a break, and I am putting up, where is it? Oh, come on. Okay. I'm a sweet leaf. You had one that caught my mind, and I am going to find you. I guess I'm really oh, wait, here we go. Fuck the me thing. Yes, definitely. Fuck the me thing. It has to be us. Just like Bernie said, not me, us. So anyway, this group, negative population growth, I follow them too, as well as the degrowths. And we all know that overpopulation is a major problem. We all know that. And nobody's going to, Kevin was talking about that on his show yesterday. It's the elephant in the room, and it has to be talked about. Some people say that, oh, there's enough for everyone, and that it's distribution problems, and it's all the waste in the West, which could be part of it, but I don't believe that 7 point whatever billion going to 10 billion people is sustainable. So this group says the true environmental disaster is the silence on our growing overpopulation. And this article, where we are, how we got here, can we recover and save our nation and our planet? A good read. Of course, I'm not going to go into this whole good read, but it's a whole forum paper, and it actually, believe it or not, was on. It's great. Negative population growth. It's an academic paper, and I highly recommend it. They look at again, we're talking about capitalism. We go into what they're talking about, the two overarching issues so often overlooked, which is the special interests are controlling our government and the media, and it makes it impossible to pass any meaningful legislation. Good government must be able to create strategy from where our society should be heading and plans to get there for the common good of the people, future people, if there are any, and the planet. Private companies may fill a role to provide good jobs and services to fulfill that strategy within the plans. Okay, because we still have to survive. So they go on to so many excuses to avoid even mentioning overpopulation. And they've got a nice big here. I might make this bigger. Let's see how it looks if I make it bigger. They've got human footprint on the world population, and from 1750 to 2000, the billions that we've gone up, the carbon dioxide that we've gone up, the freshwater use that we've gone up, the fertilizer consumption that we've got up, which is not good, the marine fish capture, the tropical forest loss. So really, they even say having one fewer child could save 58.6 tons of CO2 equivalent a year. They say Malthus was wrong. It's not racist to talk about overpopulation. Nope. Okay, so that is another piece for your thinking pleasure. And the next one I'm going to move on to is another organization, and this organization is called Degrowth US, and they've got plenty of information on the web also, and you can get more information from them. They're having, or well, I don't know if this was planned, but they're having a degrowth fest in Burlington, Vermont in August. Hopefully everything is open, and maybe, I don't know, do you think it'll be mask free in August? But there's another thing somebody can get involved in. You, me, anyone can get involved in if you believe that this is the way we should go. And one more person, and I'm going to highlight Adam Soul, because he's going to be on our show, The World Without Money. The road to life begins at the threshold of perception. And he talks about forgetting money totally. He'll come on and he's going to talk about his world without money. He has some wild ideas that you can decide for yourself how you feel about them. He talks a bit about the techno fix and all, but it's okay. Everybody's got something, and he's worked on this for years. So basically, I'm done with showing you everything. I think it's been a really good discussion. And let's look at the chat a little, and then I'm going to bid you adieu for today. I've really enjoyed being with you and bringing my thoughts and my interests on the issues and the predicaments that we are in. You know, we're in this virus. We are overpopulated. We have food issues. We have abrupt climate change. We have weather issues. So we really have a lot to think about. And if you don't want to sit back and complain about it all, perhaps the degrowth movement is for you. And I know that there's those of you who are in Extinction Rebellion as well. Just don't hinge your hopes on 20, 40, 60 years from now. Hinge your hopes on what we can do today to possibly have a 20, 40, 60 years from now. Okay? So, I'm a Sweet Leaf says, and chasing the monetary dream. I think changing priorities will influence directions to lower population, consumptive practices, and while supporting what is quality of life via air, water, and dirt. I like that very, very much. Thank you. I did. And no, it is not racist ever to talk about overpopulation, because it is a problem everywhere. So it doesn't matter. You know, we're encroaching on every species and every ecosystem. Everywhere. Everywhere. Okay, let's see. I guess, I don't want to go into this whole Georgia Guidestones right this moment. Valhalla's really into that. CB says he's growing the new money by the end of the summer. Food is going to be hard to find and costly in the fall. Yep, we're growing it too. We're growing it too. Absolutely. Absolutely. And hi, William. He says economy based on water and the elements. I'm a Sweet Leaf. She liked that solidarity. Solidarity economy. Well, the whole world, despite all of the people thinking that everything is so nefarious and it's a globalist agenda. Well, we've only got one planet. And if we've seen anything, we've seen how a virus can spread around the planet. Well, why can't degrowth? Why not? Do I have my head up my ass? Girl can hope, not have hopium. But one can want to see something better. I think my 31-year-old might be seeing things a lot different when she's my age. But why not try to get them involved and give them these tools and show them the video? So everybody have a great day. Thank you for coming. Share this video. I think it was chock with good information. And instead of, we just don't have to whine about the fact that we are headed towards extinction, or that we have horrible climate change, or we have a virus. The virus could drive us to change everything and not have business as usual and fight it. Okay, guys. I'm going to play the beginning video one more time for you, so those of you that didn't see it can see it. And thank you for coming. And I'll see you on Thursday at 11 o'clock, God willing, if there is one, that I can sit through this. Because it's giving me, I really love it. So thank you. I hope you like it also. Okay, thank you, Chicken Patty. Yep, I didn't see you. And have a good day, all. Yes! All right, guys. Oh, the unity. The unity.
Our addiction to economic growth is killing us. Right now, the entire global system is captive to a single idea: economic growth. Politicians rise and fall on their ability to increase GDP year on year. They promise that growth will make our lives better. But there's a catch. We can't have infinite growth on a finite planet. We're already overshooting our planet's biocapacity by nearly 60%. The consequences are all around us: climate change, deforestation, and rapid rates of extinction. This crisis is due almost entirely to overconsumption in rich countries. They use more than 3 times their fair share of biocapacity. Scientists warn that the only way to prevent ecological collapse is for rich countries to scale down their consumption. This is called planned degrowth. Degrowth is not the same as austerity. The goal is to increase human well-being and happiness while reducing our economic footprint. Instead of intensifying our plunder of the earth, we can share what we already have more fairly. We can cut excess consumption by curbing advertising and taxing carbon. Introducing a basic income and a shorter working week would allow us to get rid of unnecessary jobs and redistribute labor. But the first step is to overthrow the tyranny of GDP. GDP is a crude measure of progress. When we slice down our forests for timber or strip our mountains for coal, GDP goes up. When natural disasters strike or hospital visits rise, GDP goes up. It ignores environmental and social costs. It's time for a more sensible metric, like the genuine progress indicator, which takes GDP and subtracts these negative outcomes. It accounts for the costs of growth. We need an economic model that promotes human flourishing in harmony with the planet on which we depend.